The name of the teaser trailer that I'll be adopting is called 64. For a start, I believe that this is a strong name for a horror film because 64 will keep the audience thinking as to why it is called that, and not Nightmare on Elm Street, for example. And also, it keeps them thinking as to why this number is involved and what it is if it is related to the film itself, which also acts on the intellectual pleasure as it makes them think as to why or what could be involved with this film. The synopsis is that a young boy finds out his grandfather is a serial killer who likes to cut up his victims to look like a cheeseboard figure. He, m- he must do everything he can to stop him before he becomes the next victim. And this is about how he finds out after his father's death and what he tries to do to stop it. The subgenre of this, I believe that the subgenre is a slasher because it does involve a psychopathic killer who is his grandfather, and also I think that it is a slasher because the antagonist, who is his grandfather, wields a knife which is conventionally used in many slashers as it presents phallic power. I think the target audience for this is teenagers, mainly because in the script itself it shows a lot of teenagers being presented, and also it shows the conventions of teenagers in horror films, such as the drinking, alcohol, the sex, the reckless, and the rush in life. I believe that the subtext also relates to my target audience as it talks about teenage punishment, again as it involves sex. The antagonist is Derek's grandfather, who is the main character, which is again unconventional because it is usually a female who is the main character. And in this trailer, he is known as just a figure, so the audience doesn't know exactly that he is his grandfather until the middle, where Derek's mother tells him that his grandfather is a bit different compared to many grandfathers. Again, the protagonist is Derek, as he is the grandson of the antagonist. He finds this out he finds out that his grandfather is a serial killer after his father dies, and he was going to pay a visit to his grandfather until his mother told him that his grandfather was the person he is. The possible scenes that I could use in my teaser trailer, I've broken down into 5 scenes from the actual script. The first scene is a stock scene of Jennifer, one of the teenage characters, and her house bell ringing. I think this is effective as they expect it, they being the audience, and act on their visceral pleasure. By this I mean they would like to see the violence and the gore behind what happens, because it's a stock scene, which firstly means that the audience will be expecting it, and also I would like to include a non-diegetic sound to help build suspense. For the second part, I'll also include another stock scene of a jogger running through the woods with her dog at night, with a jump scare. This would appeal to my audience as they would be expecting it, but by the use of a jump scare, it will tease that fear that they will have. And another thing I'll use is an empty house. This will also create suspense and tension, as the audience will think something's going to happen there, and it also acts on their intellectual pleasure as they would like to find out what's happening or what could happen. The fourth part I'm going to use in my TV trailer is a dream of Derek dying. Now, in the script, he's in a car and he's having this dream, but the audience won't know this till later on. However, I will only show him dying, and which will also act on their visceral pleasure. Again, them being the audience, as they would like to see how he dies, and they also want to find out who was involved or anything gory behind the scene. The last scene I include is another stock scene of him crying out for help. Now, this will suspense as the last scene in my TV trailer because the audience will want to find out what happens next, if he lives, if he dies, or if he manages to get out alive, or if he beats the antagonist, for example. It also starts acting on their intellectual pleasure.